Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on TikTok at Movies TV Mad XXX, and you can follow me on Instagram at Movies TV Mad 555. And welcome to Sunday's edition of the Movies TV Mad Daily. Because there's a big rumour that Spider-Man No Way Home will finally release its trailer to the public domain on Monday or Tuesday, I thought it would be fun today to compare the Flash movie versus Spider-Man No Way Home. And later on we will discuss how 2023 will be the year of Superman, with Val Zod hitting HBO Max with a limited series, and J.J. Abrams and Ta-Nehisi Coates' Black Superman movie. We talk about that, and we talk about what this means for Henry Cavill's Superman as well. And finally, after that, superfan Scott Edwards has linked me with a very interesting Black Adam article. So let's compare these two movies, The Flash and Spider-Man No Way Home. Let's go back to, 2016, when two movies were announced, one from the DCEU, which was its second movie, and another one from Marvel Studios, the MCU. So we had BVS, Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice. This was really going to launch the extended universe for DC, and of course, the MCU going from one strength to the other, with Captain America Civil War. Now, after we saw Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, and then we saw Captain America Civil War, one thing was very sure, that Captain America Civil War had taken inspiration from Batman vs Superman. And it's interesting to think, how did they know that Zack was going down that direction? So they plagiarized the movie. There's no question about that. And there's a lot of conspiracy theories coming from Snyder fans. Some of them are right, some of them are wrong. I think this one's right. And so I think, if I remember rightly, I think Batman vs Superman was going to release nearer to when Captain America was. And then I think DC moved it. WB, Warner Brothers, moved it because they were a bit worried about that, because everyone knows who was going to win that war. So, two very similar movies. And all of a sudden, we've got the same thing. The Flash movie is literally a loose adaptation of the Flashpoint graphic novel. And what is Spider-Man No Way Home doing? They're literally enacting the multiverse. Now, how are they going to do this in Spider-Man No Way Home? Well, I think it's the most stupid thing I've ever heard of in my life. Now, again, it's very interesting because before DC Fandom, when Andy and Barbara Machete announced that the Flash movie would actually reboot the DCEU, and they were adapting loosely the Flashpoint graphic novel, that before that, Marvel Studios weren't talking about enacting the multiverse and having a multiverse strategy themselves. After that, all of a sudden, the MCU were doing the multiverse. It seems like they were plagiarizing the DCEU for a second time. Of course, I can't prove that, though maybe they were keeping their plans under wraps before that. Who knows? So, let's first talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. So at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, basically, the villain in that movie, which I forget his name now, he basically reveals that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and he sets him up for all the deaths and all the catastrophe that he caused. And then this news is broken, of course, by Joe Jameson, or whatever you bloody call him, the editor of the Daily Bugle. And so, we know that he hates Spider-Man, and it's obviously the same actor who played Commissioner Gordon in the DCEU, and who was from the Raimi movies as well, playing that character, playing Joe Jameson. So, the whole movie is supposed to be like, oh my God, everyone knows who I am now, so what am I going to do? And so what he actually does, he goes to Doctor Strange and says, can you make everyone forget I'm Spider-Man? So he says yes, But as he's about to do this, or as he's in the middle of the spell, or however he's going to do it, he says, hang on a minute, make sure that, you know, MJ, Aunt May, and my friends don't forget who I am. This is the reason the kind of multiverse cracks and things like Doc Ock, played by Alfred Molina from Spider-Man 2, seeps through the multiverse, and this is the reason we think that Andy Garfield and Tobey Maguire will seep through as well. So what we know for sure is that Alfred Molina's Doc Ock is going to be in this movie, and I think Electro, played by Jamie Foxx, is definitely in this movie as well. It will be, I mean, it will be a twist of monumental proportions if all this was just a lie. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. We don't know for sure if Toby and Andy are in this movie, but it looks like they are. But we know that Doc Ock and Electro are in this movie. I think that's very exciting. Of course it is. Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home have been very underwhelming versions of Spider-Man. They haven't worked for me personally, but for kids and young girls who adore Tom Holland, it's been great. Bully for you, I'm glad you like it. But for me, the Raimi trilogy is leaps and bounds superior than the two other live-action versions. Again, that's just my opinion. But I think it's ridiculous to say, right, these things are seeping through the multiverse because Peter Parker doesn't want his friends and Aunt May and his girlfriend to forget who he is. That's the reason. That's the whole reason. So let's go to Flashpoint. Now, Flashpoint is a very famous graphic novel. And was it Jeff Johns who wrote that, or was it someone else? I'm not sure. But it's a great graphic novel. And so what happened, look, we all know that Barry Allen's mum was murdered. So, and basically his father was framed for the murder. So Barry Allen's father, Henry Allen, is in prison for the murder of his wife. He's clearly innocent. Barry wants to prove his father's innocence. And that's why he gets a job within the police as a DNA analyst or whatever his job is. So what happens in the graphic novel is he uses the Speed Force to go back in time to save his mother, which means his father's not in prison anymore. And so what this does is it creates a new universe. His reality is kind of, I don't know, a mixture of what he knew and what he doesn't know, and everything's so different. There's an evil version of Aquaman, there's an evil version of Wonder Woman, and there's an Atlantean Amazonian war. Apparently this thing we're not going to get in the movie, but instead we're going to get a meta-human war. Meta-humans versus ordinary human beings. The government, you know, starting a war on all meta-humans because they won't come to the plate and join up to help the government in all their battles around the world. Makes sense. Sounds interesting. A great adaptation there from Christina Hodson. A very, very good idea. That sounds really exciting to me. That Barry's all of a sudden in this new version of where he comes from. And he's done all of this to save his mother. What doesn't sound very good, what doesn't sound very exciting in Spider-Man No Way Home, that all this has happened because Peter wanted his friends, his girlfriend and his aunt to not forget who he is. I think it's ridiculous. Why would that be your motivating factor when you're wanted for murder and you just want everyone to forget? And by the way, something else that's dumb. This is as dumb as the sonic screwdriver solving every problem the Doctor has. It doesn't just open doors and windows anymore. It's more than that. In fact, if I was playing the Doctor and running Doctor Who, because that's my fantasy, to run the show and play the Doctor, I would literally, as soon as I regenerated, right, I'd grab the sonic screwdriver, snap it, and say, I don't need no wand. That would be the first thing I fucking did. Anyway, we're not talking about a Doctor Who right now. So I think it's all the premise seems very, very stupid to me. We've got the graphic novel Flashpoint. It's a great, compelling story. It works. Basically, go and watch Back to the Future 2, and that's pretty much Flashpoint. Now, I don't know what happened first, Flashpoint or Back to the Future 2. I'm not sure, because I'm not a die-hard comic book reader. I love live-action comic book interpretations. I love these DC characters, and I'm fond of a lot of Marvel characters as well. So I just think the premise of The Flash is so much better. Now, in Michael Keaton's Batman in the Flash movie, that's very exciting. As it's very exciting that we're reportedly having Tobey Maguire and Andy Garfield reprise their roles as Peter Parker Spider-Man from their Earths. Is this going to happen? Nobody knows. DC and WB have confirmed Keaton is in this film. Keaton can't stop fucking talking about being in this film. He's nearly as excited as we are. He may be even more excited than you lot. Certainly not more excited than me. I'm so hyped for this movie because the Flash movie is so important. For years now, the DCEU, DC live action, has been the bridesmaid, never the bride. That twists in my gut that Disney are dominating the film industry, twists in my gut that Jungle Cruise and Free Guy are dominating the box office and the Suicide Squad hasn't made any money, any profit. And yes, it's done very well for HBO Max, it's a hit, but it still sticks in my fucking gut. Every time we think, yes, the next movie's going to be successful, we're going to one-up the MCU, we never fucking do. We're still waiting for these DC shows to hit next year and beyond on HBO Max, and movies. I mean, we've just had Black Canary announced, we've got Batgirl, we've got Gotham PD. Listen, we've got, what's his name, Peacemaker. So we've got a lot of exciting things to look forward to. But all this twists in my gut. Not only do I want to see the most amazing, most entertaining, funniest, compelling, serious DC movies, I want them to be successful. More successful than Marvel. That's what I want. Because right now, I'm not happy. Because it's a shame. Because Man of Steel, great movie. BVS, great movie. We've been through this every day. You know what I think about all the movies. I'm not going to go through that again. So, the kind of somewhat failure of the DCEU to compete with the MCU consistently is an issue. I still think a lot of our movies are better than theirs, but the broader audience doesn't agree. But as I always say, it's a personal thing with entertainment. You know, it's up to you how you feel about something, and you shouldn't let anyone, you know, kind of conflict your love and opinion for a piece of art. But as we carry on comparing the Flash movie with Spider-Man No Way Home, I think it's very interesting. What interests me is that Spider-Man No Way Home will hit first before the Flash movie. That's interesting. So either we've got a situation that Spider-Man No Way Home is so good, which puts more pressure on Andy Muschietti and DC and WB and Hamada and Sarnoff to really deliver with this movie, or what I think may happen is, look, whatever happens, this trailer will have the most views of all time. Spider-Man No Way Home could potentially hit 2 billion if we don't have a big COVID problem by December. Obviously, it's colder then. We don't know what's going to happen with the strains and the variants, but potentially people could go out there, you know. People could literally, especially, get vaccinated just to go out and see Spider-Man No Way Home. It's not unlikely. It's not going to happen. There will not be a day and date for Spider-Man No Way Home. There's still going to have to be a decision made on this film, because this film could end up being released closer to The Flash than we ever imagined. In fact, I predict The Flash will be pushed forward, not because of any impending changes to the Spider-Man No Way Home release, because of Aquaman releasing so close to, what's his name, the James Cameron, Avatar 2, that's it. And we've discussed that on my lives before, haven't we? Someone even suggesting that they should move it to 2023. They have promised 4 movies a year. They can't do that unless it's one of the 4 movies of 2023, but then we would lose 1 movie from 2022. We don't want to do that. So the solution could be that The Flash gets moved forward. So we've got, I think Aquaman's July the 31st. No, let me say that again. I think Black Adam is July the 31st. The Batman is March. So you could go September. You could have end of September for the Flash movie, and then Aquaman can come out maybe when the Flash was going to be released. So then it doesn't clash with Avatar and everyone's happy. There's going to be a lot more competition next year. I do predict though, even though Warner Brothers are not doing a day and date and they've got this 45-day window for each of their movies, Disney, I think, will go back to day and date. I don't know why. I think this is going to be the new normal. I think they could do day and date with everything, or pick and choose what they do. We'll have to wait and see. So, I can see dates changing. I would have loved the situation of The Flash and No Way Home being released on the same day and just seeing what happens. I mean, obviously you would expect Spider-Man No Way Home to do better than The Flash. That's not, I mean, I wouldn't choose to watch Spider-Man No Way Home over The Flash, even though I'd still be desperate to watch No Way Home, because Toby and Andy and, you know, Doc Ock and, you know, Electro's going to be in the movie. It's exciting. You know, Tobey Maguire is my favourite Spider-Man. So there's no question. I'm excited about this. But when you look at The Flash and you look at Spider-Man No Way Home, you can't just chuck, you know, iconic iterations of these characters back in movies and just hope for the best. You really got to think about this. Now, no one's spoken about the Spider-Man No Way Home script. No one's talking about this. Here are the facts. The person who directed the first two Spider-Man movies for the MCU and Sony is the same person. I think it's the same writer. Now, I'm surprised. I mean, I'll be surprised if Sam Raimi didn't consult a little bit. Maybe that's the reason Sam Raimi was brought in to do Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Maybe they needed his permission to bring Toby back. I don't know. That's how it works, I think. Maybe. It's obviously all ownership from Sony, but it's all very, very complicated. So, I would have been more comfortable, instead of him doing Doctor Strange, that he would have done No Way Home. Maybe there's a conflict there. Maybe him and Sony still don't get on after them not doing Spider-Man 4, something that devastated Toby and Sam as well. So that might be the reason he's not involved with Spider-Man, because Sony is, you know, Spider-Man is the remit of Sony. You know, Feige and the MCU, Marvel Studios, don't really have much authority over the Spider-Man IP, and I know some people don't want to believe that, but that's the truth. So when I look at this movie, Spider-Man No Way Home, it's got the same people that have done the other two movies, and it's been underwhelming. Now, a lot of people don't like Christina Hodson. They don't think she's a particularly great writer. She did the Transformers movie, Bumblebee, which I thought was kind of okay, nothing special. I don't think the writing was bad or anything. She's done Birds of Prey. Again, the dialogue and the narratives of Birds of Prey isn't that bad. It's just the commentary. And that was down to Margot Robbie. I think the dialogue and the scenes were okay, and you know, a lot of the sequences she wrote was brilliant, especially when Harley Quinn goes into the police station. I think that's awesome, to go and get the kid, and she's got that, she comes in with that gun. I forgot what, and that gun shoots beanbags, the beanbag gun. I thought that was great. So she's obviously a little bit talented, and we shouldn't prejudge her at all, but I would have to have the same doubts on her as I have on the people doing Spider-Man No Way Home. But Andy Muschietti did a very hard gig in doing the first It movie, It Chapter 1. You know, we've had an It movie before. It was a reboot. It could have gone wrong in so many ways. And Andy Muschietti has made probably one of the best reboots ever. It Chapter 1. Say what you want about number 2. I don't mind it. Say what you want about number 2. But number 1 is the dog's bollocks. That's not derogatory. That means, in British slang, that means it's amazing, my American friends, or wherever else in the world you come from. So, Andy Muschietti is the real deal. He's a very, very good director. And I've forgotten the name of the guy who's done the first two MCU Sony Spider-Man movies, but I don't think he's as good as Andy Muschietti. So, let's have a look at what these movies have. So, Spider-Man No Way Home, Toby, Andy, Doc Ock, Alfred Molina, and I forgot, of course, William Dafoe as Green Goblin, supposed to be the main villain. It's kind of, you know, he's got these villains together from the multiverse to attack. So it sounds like kind of quite exciting. Whether this works or not, I don't know. So let's look, and there's rumours of Gwyneth Paltrow as, not Gwyneth Paltrow, what's her name? Kirsten Dunst. I always get those two mixed up, don't know why. But Kirsten Dunst coming back as MJ as well, which would be awesome. But then you go to the Flash movie, and I still don't know if that's going to be the official. It looks like it's the official title because we had logos and everything. I mean, I would have preferred Flashpoint, but never mind. It's Flash movie. So they're adapting this loosely. We've got Michael Keaton as Batman. We've got Ben Affleck as the DCEU's Batman. They're introducing Sasha Calle as Supergirl, and we know there's a hell of a lot more DC iconic characters and actors returning to this. Now, we could have every kind of version of DC characters we've seen in the DCEU thus far. We could have even Harley, Brandon Routh, everything. And he's not from the DCEU. Arrowverse kind of crossovers. This is going to be a huge movie. And as you can see, we're nearly, 4 months now? 4 months, over 4 months of this production. It's a long shoot, and God knows how long this shoot's going to last. As I said the other day, it looks like they don't want to go back and do pickups, and they're trying to do everything now. And I think one of the reasons for that is they want to promote it heavily for the next year and a half, because this film, officially at the moment, doesn't come out till November. Is it November the 16th? Something like that. I think that date will change, by the way. But, so if you're a DC fan, of course, it's very exciting. If you're a Marvel fan, or a fan of the Raimi iterations, or the Mark Webb Amazing Spider-Man, you're going to be excited. Because literally they're saying, we don't have any ideas for a third movie. This is interesting, but it's a bit weird, isn't it? That we've had all this kind of thing with Kang the Conqueror on Loki, kind of showing us how the multiverse strategy is going to work in that finale. And then all of a sudden, we're doing something totally different in Spider-Man No Way Home, where the multiverse opens because of something Peter does. Now, it's pretty clear that the Sony and MCU Marvel properties are all going to cross over with each other because of this multiverse strategy. So it's pretty similar to what they're doing over at DC. In fact, apart from the reasoning and the ways it's happening, it's the same thing. We have to look, and of course people are going to do this and say, who's going to do the multiverse better? That's an interesting thing as well, isn't it? Who is going to do the multiverse better? Will both studios do a great job? I hope so, but in the law of averages, that's probably unlikely. If I was to say to you which set of fans knows less about the multiverse, I would say it's MCU stans, because they're not all comic book dweebs and geeks, right? So it's clear even Feige thinks this, because he keeps on giving them 101 lessons. In the finale of Loki, and What If is pretty much a lesson in the multiverse. And he's really trying to explain the multiverse to people, and I think there's some people who are just not going to get it. Why is it different for the DCEU and DC? Well, DC fans understand the multiverse because they've been reading it for years, a lot more than even Marvel comic fans have. They understand. It's a basic premise. Barry's going to say, look, I'm going to use my speed to go back in time. Oh my God, I saved my mum and I changed everything. It's simple, it's easy, right? I suppose the way Spider-Man No Way Home is doing it as well is pretty easy. It's easy, but the confusing thing is the Kang the Conqueror multiverse thing. Why couldn't that have been the reason that No Way Home happens? It's a bit weird. Anyway, because the DCEU hasn't started on their multiverse strategy yet. Now the MCU, via its Disney Plus properties, already has. So it's weird we've got all of this that happened in Loki. I would have thought that would affect the timeline more than Peter saying, oh please make my friends remember I'm still Spider-Man. So that's weird. So the Flash movie is really the beginning of the multiverse strategy. Although the Batman will introduce us to a new Earth, so maybe that's kind of the beginning of the multiverse strategy. It's the first time in DC live action, in terms of films, we're going to see another Earth, which is a lot of fun. That's great. We've seen it in TV, we've seen it in Smallville, we've seen it in Arrowverse, we haven't seen it in movies, so it's huge. So really you could argue that maybe that's the beginning. But the rebooting of the franchise is happening on The Flash. It's a much more important movie than Spider-Man No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home is very exciting because of who's going to be in the movie. So it's interesting because I've heard a lot of noises from Marvel fans, MCU stans saying, we want this to be Tom Holland's movie. We're not happy about this. We don't want this. But all round, this film has evoked lots of conversations and excitement. Where's the trailer? Where's the trailer? Where's the trailer? We see it every day. So by doing this, and they did the same thing with Endgame, they created this demand for a trailer, and probably and hopefully we'll see a No Way Home trailer next week. Now, there's a divide over at DC. There is. Some fans love the Snyderverse, some fans don't, some fans love both. I feel sorry for the people like me who love both, who love DC altogether. We're the ones really suffering from the negativity you see on Twitter and social media all the time, right? With these ridiculous lies and hot takes. But I would imagine that the Flash movie will be a better constructed movie than Spider-Man No Way Home. We'll have to wait and see what happens. And you would imagine that Spider-Man No Way Home would make more money. But here's the thing. Spider-Man No Way Home is still going to be having a COVID problem. You would imagine. Because if it doesn't, it's going to make around $2 billion, surely. It's going to make big money. And people could go to the cinemas anyway. But it's difficult because I think they're not going to let you in cinemas by then unless you've got a Freedom COVID pass to prove that you've had your vaccination. So it's going to be difficult, and many people are refusing to get their vaccinations, rightly or wrongly. A conversation for a time, not on this channel. But when The Flash is officially released, and at this moment in time it is November, we may not even have a COVID problem anymore. It could be totally over, or just such a little bit that it doesn't affect movie going. So potentially, if this is a good movie, and we've been here before, you know, me sitting here saying to you, James Gunn's a Suicide Squad, James Gunn's a Marvel director, everyone's going to come, blah, 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 it's going to be great. I was wrong. I can't hide from that. I was wrong. People stayed at home and watched the Suicide Squad at home. Luckily, it's just a placeholder like Wonder Woman 84 and Birds of Prey. But there is a potential because of the COVID situation we're in, where Spider-Man No Way Home may be moved, because they know the problem's not going to be solved by December or whenever they're releasing the movie. Now, it'll be interesting, but we'll see if they'll release it. Now, ultimately, Spider-Man No Way Home could bring audiences back to movie theatres. Movie theatres are desperate for that film. It's the biggest film of the year, alongside, I think, the James Bond movie, No Time to Die. That's going to have a big reaction, not necessarily in a positive way, and we'll talk about that film when it's released. So it will be important for movie theatres that Spider-Man No Way Home stays on its December release date. They will be heavily pissed off if it isn't. So, I'm excited for The Flash, more than I am Spider-Man No Way Home, because I'm a DC and a DCEU stan. And I believe the cohesive film will be the Flash movie. They've got so many similarities to them. We need a movie that changes everything. The Flash is going to do that. We need a movie everybody loves. People watch this movie and say, yes, yes, I love DC. I want to watch DC from now on. This film has to be the biggest fucking successful thing ever. Marvel are not under that pressure with Spider-Man No Way Home. But it'll be very interesting to see the trailer next week, if we are getting it. I think CinemaCon's today, is it? Or is it tomorrow? I don't know. But it's going to be shown at CinemaCon first. We'll have to wait and see for the trailer. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting which film does better. I'm crossing my fingers that Flashpoint is the movie that reignites DC live action. No question, 2023 is the year of Superman. Val Zod hits HBO Max with a limited series in, I would think in 2023, I don't think it'll be any earlier than that. And Ta-Nehisi Coates and J.J. Abrams' Black Superman movie will hit cinemas in 2023 at some point, I would imagine. He's writing it right now. I think he'll be done with that around, where are we now, maybe October, November time. That's what he said. And I would imagine that production will begin maybe sometime next year. Basically, you would think that Ta-Nehisi Coates' Superman movie will reach cinemas maybe fall, the autumn, maybe the same time as No Way Home is released this year, if it does get that release. So it looks like 2023 is the year for Superman. Very, very exciting. I could be wrong, it could be 2024, but right now let's go with 2023. So we have two Superman projects that will be starring, you would imagine, African American actors and probably directed by African American directors. That's what you would think. That's the kind of way they're heading for with this. So what happens to Clark Kent? What happens to Henry Cavill's Superman? And is Ta-Nehisi Coates' J.J. Abrams' Superman Clark Kent? He could be a black version of Clark Kent on another Earth, and I'm fine with that, but I think President Superman will be a great adaptation, but we're going to have to see what Ta-Nehisi Coates is planning and what floats his boat in terms of telling a black Superman story. But I'm excited. We have two versions of Superman. They're very interesting versions. I think they're more, the backstory and the origins are actually more interesting than Kal-El Clark Kent's origin stories. I love Clark Kent. He's my Superman. I grew up with that Superman and Clark Kent. But these two characters, that's if Ta-Nehisi Coates is doing President Superman, have got much more interesting stories to tell. There's no question about that. And you know, these two versions of Superman could be the answer to making Superman more accessible to a broader, wider audience. And that's been the struggle for many, many years. Superman simply hasn't worked in live action since Christopher Reeve donned the cape, let's say in the second movie. And so they're looking to do that. So it would be very, very ironic and interesting if a couple of black versions of Superman did something that Superman's been attempting to do for a very, very long time. We'll have to wait and see. So as I said, what happens to Henry Cavill? What happens to Clark Kent? Will we in fact have a white version of Superman? So of course, because everything's going to be canon in the multiverse, we've got Tyler Hoechlin. Hopefully Brandon Routh can get something and cameo in the Flash movie as well. Who knows if Tom Welling's involved and given projects of his own as that Clark Kent. We could have many, many versions of Superman. Henry Cavill, the position of Henry Cavill's position is the one that's just not been clarified since Justice League. And as I've been saying for years, sooner rather than later, that position will have to be clarified. And if they come out and say Henry's no longer Superman, that day the internet is going to burn, it's going to break, and people are going to go for them. Now, it is my belief that Henry will cameo in a bunch of movies as Superman, and maybe for now not get any movies. Now, what would be fun is if we had a Superman movie for Henry in 2023, we had Ta-Nehisi Coates' Superman, and we had the Val Zod Superman limited series on HBO Max. We would have a triple header of Superman content, and that would be very exciting. Superman dominating the cinema. We'll have to wait and see. So nobody truly knows if Henry Cavill is still Superman in the DCEU. Now officially, he's still our Superman, even though we haven't seen him since Justice League and the Snyder Cut. So nobody really knows. Henry isn't talking. He doesn't talk very much about the character. They never wished him happy birthday, apparently. Apparently he was sacked on his birthday because they didn't wish him happy birthday, which is nonsense. If he's not Superman, he would have known this for a long time. Now, we know that his representatives are sitting on something because, and I forgot her name, she's The Rock's ex-wife, isn't she? But she said, when you're sitting on something, when you know something you're excited about, but you can't reveal it. This is why I believe, foregone conclusion, Henry Cavill's Superman will play some part, small or large, in the Black Adam movie. So I still think he's Superman. I still think he'll reprise his role, you know, in cameos, and I think that's all right now Henry's going to get. He's had his introduction. He's been in Man of Steel. He's been in BVS. He's been in Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. So he's had 3 great, you know, opportunities to be Superman, kind of in his own movies. I mean, obviously people say BVS isn't his movie, but actually the movie is actually about Superman. The motivations of the movie from Batman are about Superman. Everyone deciding whether they can trust Superman or not. The fucking film is Superman's story. It doesn't matter how much dialogue he got to splurt out in the movie. And in Justice League, right, obviously continues from his death and they bring him back to life and he helps, basically he saves them from Steppenwolf. So he's had 3 beautiful, live action appearances as Superman. So I do believe he will be in Black Adam. I do believe he will be in Fury of the Gods. Now I don't know if he'll be in anything else, but I think those 2 films for sure. Now an Aquaman appearance could be interesting, but we don't know. But we know they've said already that Black Adam, there will be crossovers. They've said there will be an element of crossover in that film. That's the exact words of the director. So that's exciting. So I don't believe we're done with Henry Cavill. It would be a beautiful thing to have 3 Superman projects in 2023 or 2024 or whatever. So he's still Superman within the DCEU. Now, obviously Black Adam is before Flashpoint. So I could be wrong about Fury of the Gods if we get the Flashpoint reboot and he's not Superman anymore. We're going to have to wait and see what they do there. The whole point, there's loads of reasons why you do a multiverse strategy and why Jim Lee, Walter Hamada and Ann Sarnoff made this decision. One of them is for inclusion, because you can introduce other Earths with different minority actors playing different versions of these DC characters, which I support, by the way. But also, you give everyone what they want. Now, Snyder fans will say, well, we're not getting what we want. A lot of them complaining that Journey Smollett's campaign worked to become Black Canary and get her movie, but there's no word on releasing the air cut. Fingers crossed, DC fandom, we'll have to wait and see. And restoring the Snyderverse, which is a lot more difficult because of the relationship breakdown between WB and Zack Snyder. Can it be healed? Money can heal anything, I can promise you that. Well, not anything, but anything in the entertainment industry that needs fixing. So, I do believe Henry's still Superman, and I believe he'll be in Black Adam. Or we'll see what happens. I expect him to be in the Flash movie. Of course, if he's in Black Adam, he's going to be in the Flash movie. So I believe he's going to play little roles. This is why when people say, well, he's doing this project and that project, how can he be Superman? Because it doesn't take that long to be in a cameo role. I mean, even if you're in a half an hour of the movie or whatever, that's enough for fans. Even if he's in 2 minutes, people are going to lose their fucking shit. But he's a very popular version of Superman. The films he's in may not be everyone's cup of tea, but in terms of an actor playing Superman, Henry at this moment in time is very, very popular. He's just as popular as Christopher Reeve was at the time. He may even be more popular than Reeve now, because people appreciate him as a great actor, a great guy, and a great version of Superman. And some people just say he was in bad movies. I don't think his movies are bad, but some people believe that. So I think Cavill is still active within the DCEU, and I think he's still our Superman, and that's cool. We'll see if he's still our Superman after Flashpoint. So, 2023 will bring back the Man of Steel to the big screen at least once, and we get Val Zod on HBO Max, which will be great. So buy the biggest TVs, get your best sound systems, because it's going to be awesome. And these are just different versions of Superman, and it's very exciting. So people have made the accusation, because minority actors are playing most of the starring roles on the DC HBO Max stuff, they're calling out racism. Well, let me swap it around for you. We have a black version of Superman that's going to be in movie screens in 2023. We have Val Zod on HBO Max in a starring role. The white Superman could either be fired and deleted or just appear in cameos. Is that racist? No. The only people who should be complaining about this DC content being on HBO Max is the people who don't have availability of HBO Max in their countries. Enough said. But 2023 is the year of Superman, and as a Superman fan, that really excites me. So, superfan Scott Edwards has sent me this fan art of Barry Allen with Black Lightning, and he looks absolutely brilliant, doesn't he? And also here's another one of Stargirl and Barry Allen. Of course, this is Grant Gusting's Arrowverse Flash. Yes, Scott, it's great artwork, and Scott has sent me a super cool article. And what's this from? This is Black Adam will introduce the DC supervillain group Intergang. So let's click on this. Now, some articles don't work sometimes and they have too many pop-ups. Let's hope this isn't one. Just waiting for it to load up, very professional. Right. Black Adam will introduce the DC supervillain group Intergang. Black Adam is bringing Dwayne Johnson into the big screen world of DC Comics as the titular anti-hero who has granted powers by the wizard Shazam thousands of years ago. Joining him will be the superhero team known as the Justice Society, but they won't be the only DC Comics team making an appearance in the movie. According to Black Adam co-star Sarah Shahi, the supervillain team Intergang will be making their debut in Black Adam. So it looks like we've got our villains and our challenges of the movie, or is this just something that's in The Rock's way temporarily? Or should I say Black Adam's way? I play a character named Adriana, and she's a freedom fighter that's leading this big resistance against an evil malicious group called Intergang. So that's it. Sarah said it. Sarah's not lying. They're in it. Intergang are awesome. So we've got a lot of DC concepts we haven't seen in live action before in this movie, or at least in movies, DC movies. This is exciting. For those unfamiliar, Intergang is a supervillain team created by Jack Kirby, that first appeared as Superman villains in the comic Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen 133. The criminal gang was first formed by Bruno Mannheim, and they were able to tangle with superheroes because they were supplied with weaponry from the new gods, including Darkseid, who hoped to use them to find the anti-life equation. But how will they tie into Black Adam, since that plot device was something that was already exhausted in Justice League, and even more so in Zack Snyder's director's cut of the movie? Well, actually, it's not been exhausted, because the Intergang weren't in Zack Snyder's Justice League or in Justice League. They can even name drop Darkseid. It could be pretty cool. How does Intergang tie into Black Adam? In the pages of the 52 arc of DC Comics, Intergang crossed paths with Black Adam in his home world of Kahndaq by offering him a bride in form of Adriana Tomaz. That's the character Sarah Shahi is playing, in exchange for the safe passage of their smuggling activity nearby. Black Adam ends up killing the two criminals but keeping Adriana around. It looks like they could adapt this. It looks like they're going to be very faithful to a few comics here, which really excites me. We're not sure how much the comics of the 52 arc will influence the Black Adam movie, but since Adriana becomes Black Adam's wife and the superpowered character Isis, we'll likely see her playing a key role in the movie, especially if she's leading the charge against Intergang. However, since she's described as a freedom fighter, perhaps she's yet to be endowed with superpowers, which come from an Egyptian amulet in the comics. As for the Intergang's motivations in Black Adam, that remains unclear. We're not even sure if they'll still be weaponized by the new gods, since that could create more ties to Zack Snyder's Justice League. Right, and Warner Brothers is trying to wrap up that part of DC Comics franchises. Listen to me, you're being very one note about this. Just because Zack introduced Darkseid and Steppenwolf, it doesn't mean you can never use him or name drop him again. I think it's a great idea if he's been, if he weaponized this Intergang, and you have kind of connections here. I don't know what they're going to do. It'll be interesting now. Previously we've heard that Marwan Kenzari had joined the cast as the film's villain. Rumours pointed to the Aladdin co-star playing Ashamel Gregor, aka Sabak. Though that character has never been linked to Intergang in the comics, the big screen version of the character will be a New York City mob boss who gains superhuman strength and demon-like appearance after initiating a ritual to possess the powers of Sabak. The character is part of a superhero team called the Outsiders in DC Comics, but we could easily see him being in charge of Intergang instead without really ruining the comic mythology. For now, we're not sure which members of Intergang might be appearing in Black Adam, since the movie also has Aldis Hodge as Hawkman, Noah Centineo as Atom Smasher, Quintessa Swindell as Cyclone, and Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. They'll need plenty of bad guys to throw around, so we can expect Intergang to be formidable foes in the movie directed by Jami Colette Serra. Black Adam is currently in the final week of production. Theatres on July 29th, 2022. As we already know, did I say July the 31st earlier? I got a couple of days wrong, so sue me. So, thank you, Scott Edwards. A really good article you put my way. I'm probably more likely to read the DCEU upcoming movie articles or think pieces or news, Scott, if you send them, and probably less likely to read out Arrowverse articles because I don't really watch Arrowverse that much. I'm obviously interested in Superman and Lois. I would read out Superman and Lois stuff if it interests me. So just keep that in mind. But thank you. I always appreciate the tags and everything. So keep it going. Listen, Black Adam is huge. We've seen what The Rock does. The Rock brings out fucking audiences. Jungle Cruise in the pandemic and being on day and date has been a huge success for Disney. And that's undeniable. What a great pull this guy is. People are excited for Black Adam. This film is going to make a lot of money. I said that about the Suicide Squad. Let's hope we become the bride this time and not the bridesmaid. So the Intergang being involved really excites me. The Justice Society, Intergang, brilliant, you know, all these DC characters involved. It's going to be fucking awesome. Next year is the year of DC. 2023 is the year of Superman. We are going to dominate when we reboot this franchise and start from scratch. But it all starts with the Batman next year, and hopefully we start to sort DC out. And everybody loves us, loves our characters, and we can start to celebrate. This has been the Movies TV Mad Daily. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. I will be back in the next video, but throughout the day you can check me on TikTok at Movies TV Mad, XXX, on Instagram at Movies TV Mad, 555, and on Twitter, of course, at Movies TV Mad. So check me out on those socials, and I'll see you again tomorrow. See you later.